guys, welcome to the Quiet Riot Show. November is a very important month when it comes to men's health, and therefore, instead of releasing our shows bi-weekly, we are going to be releasing them every week, every Monday morning. And with that, we also have a new sponsor, Intergalactic Sauces. Now, I gotta tell you guys, when I discovered Intergalactic Sauces, they're absolutely fantastic. Like, every single sauce they make is just packed with flavor, heat, and there's some for the beginners, and there's some for guys like me or Tim. We love our spicy stuff. And you can go to their website, intergalacticsauces.com, and you can order yours today. Currently, they have in stock Big Sky and closed on Sundays. So closed on Sundays is for maybe the beginners. And Big Sky is just a beautiful packed heat, flavor, everything's in there. If you really like something spicy on your meals, it's fantastic. They are working towards restocking their very popular Tanqua Sriracha, which is really nice. It's a little bit higher than the closed on Sunday. And my personal favorite, Cosmic Coyote. Now that is the bomb, and not the crappy bomb on the show that we not going to mention because they're not sponsoring us, but you know which one I'm talking about. This one is absolutely fantastic. It's smoked peppers. Flavor is insane, and that is why that's my favorite. And I'm going to be ordering as much as I possibly can because they only get it once a year. So December 1st is going to be the release, and they will be setting up a pre-order on their website, which will give people also a chance to save extra $5 per bottle leading up to December 1st. So go to check out their website, intergalacticsauces.com, and you'll be able to get your Cosmic Coyote, which is, I'm so excited. So anyways, thank you, Intergalactic Sauces, for supporting our show, and we're going to support you as well. We're going to load up on our hot sauces. Cheers.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Quiet Riot Show. Episode whatever, I never know. And Tommy always shakes his head at me anyway.
It doesn't matter.
Who gives a shit?
We're all over the place, yeah. I don't know when I'm going to release this one, but probably soon.
Well, I think we were hoping for November release, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to definitely come out in November.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's your stuff.
Yeah.
Just like you said, I have to always do the intro. Like, you got to do all the other things.
Exactly,
yeah. I don't want to decide those things. We have a guest with us today. Last show we recorded was just the two of us. I don't know when you're putting that out either, but it's nice to have guests in.
It is, yeah.
I'm sick of looking at your fucking face.
Right?
And,
Thanks.
It's a beardy room here today, actually.
That's right, yeah. You should,
I didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we have a good friend of mine, Brandon, in studio today. Brandon's got quite the story. And we're hoping he's going to share that with us today and talk about some of his journey. And I've known Brandon longer, actually, than we knew each other, or we had met earlier than we had at first thought. And I can maybe touch on that later. But welcome here. Thanks for being here.
Welcome.
Thanks for making time.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
So we're going to talk about Brandon's story. We're sort of, I think this is coming out in November, and so November is a bit of a major men's health focus kind of month. I mean, we're hoping they all are, but November's kind of become this, it started as this Movember thing, and it was a cancer thing, and it's really kind of turned into like a men's health month. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And so it's nice to see that. We get a month, guys. We get 1 month.
That's right.
So in that sense, we're going to talk about Brandon's story or I'll let him tell the story, but his surviving testicular cancer. And so I think that's such an important thing. And I think I've got a friend going through that whole treatment process right now. And I think there's a lot of men going through that, and a lot of people who know those men. So
well, and I think I brought it up the last episode, but this new podcast that I started listening to, and we are going to collaborate with them. They really focus on the men's prostate and the whole blood work and everything, how everything ties into each other. And I absolutely love that topic, and I've listened to a couple more episodes today, and it's really like kind of, they joke about it.
a little bit, but they kind of say like, yeah, it's important to talk about your balls and penis because it ties into everything, and like there's so many signs that you can actually pay attention to that you normally ignore. And it's a really good podcast.
Well, and I haven't listened to it yet. You just told me about it the other day, but I think like there's also a fact of like how your mental state plays into your physical state, 100%. And I think we've touched on that before. Yeah. And Brandon, I think you'll have some good advice on that and some good input.
For sure.
Yeah,
I definitely feel like emotional states and your thoughts and how you perceive things can manifest themselves in physical ailments and diseases and that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I would imagine so. Should we do the check-in?
Yeah, let's check in.
We use the check-in. My wife always asks me.
Do you guys do it now too?
Yeah, after you told us about that, she says I'm notoriously hard to read, so she always just, what's your number? What's your number all day?
That's why me and Rachel do it.
And we started doing that too with my wife, a weekly check-in, and it's awesome. Like
it works. Yeah,
it gives you like a little perspective of like, okay, now I know where you are.
Yeah,
so. And like, I mean, especially you are. Like your face has no emotions, really. It just
preferably not.
No, usually you just like even my wife the other day asked like, "Is Tim okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just his bitch face."
Usually not.
I mean, yeah, like he's okay, but like, yeah, he's never okay. But he's okay.
I had a conversation with my daughter the other day about RBF.
Yeah, I know.
It was pretty funny. She's like, you know, Dad's got those angry eyebrows. And I'm like, oh, it's just my resting bitch face. She's like, oh, I know some people who have that. I'm like, yeah, me being one of them.
But yeah, let's check in. So
sure.
What are you?
I would say this, let's go with, well, today, I can't get it moving today. I can't get myself going today. But let's talk about the last couple of weeks. I'd say I'm sitting steady at a 5.5. Okay. Lots of intensity, lots of stuff going on. We're having this Halloween party next week, and like, Rachel loves planning parties, and I love her for it because she does such a good job. But like, it gets obsessive.
Any party, even birthday parties, she does like fantastic.
It gets obsessive,
job,
and like inevitably because I'm her husband and I live in the same house, like it's just I'm a part of it.
You have no choice.
Yeah. And to go along with that, like. Our dryer broke, our dishwasher broke, and like we had a flood in our bathroom a little while ago that's still not completely fixed. So it's just like everything's been pretty fucking nuts. Yeah. So I'm just like powering through and just getting through it, but it's not easy. Yeah, it hasn't been a fun journey, I'll tell you that. Yeah.
For me today, it's like I woke up and I could tell right away it's gloomy outside, and so I don't react well to the weather like that. But I also dropped my in-laws off at the airport, so I'm getting a month off from them. So it's like, you know, like a little morale boost. No, I'm joking. I love my in-laws. They're great people. But yeah, they're actually heading back to Slovakia. So I'm visiting my parents and family there. So
nice.
So yeah, no, good for them. You know, that's what retirement's all about. And I kind of always look forward to like the time where like we don't have our jobs and just actually travel a little bit and go see friends and family, which is great. So how about yourself?
I'm going to be an 8 today.
Hey, oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going around in the house. We're looking at moving the family down to Florida. My wife got a new job position. We were just talking about that. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of stress and anxiety in the house, but and then coming here, there was a bit of anxiety, but I did a quick workout after work this morning. So I find anytime I can like force myself into physical exertion, if you're trying to catch your breath, you can't be anxious about anything. So that kind of like levels me out. So yeah about an 8 today.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
8's great. So yeah, you and the family have been talking for how many years now about moving?
4's kind of been the goal. Her mom and stepdad have a place in Fort Lauderdale. So the first time we went down there was 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd never been anywhere warm before. So we went down in January, and I was like, I can't believe people live like this in the middle of winter.
All year.
T-shirt and flip-flops. I was like, we need to figure this out. So
wait, were they wearing sweaters though?
They were, but I was like, no shirt, just so shorts weird, and everything. Yeah.
For them, it's
and
cool.
Then, so just experiencing that, we were like, we need to figure out how we're going to get down here. We never really, obviously, moving a whole family to the States is not just an easy process, right? Yeah. At the bare minimum, we wanted to get like a winter place down there, but her job is a multinational company, so we've actually secured a transfer down there. So we're able to move down permanently for 5 years on a visa. So yeah, we're excited on sorting that out. We're trying to get the house ready to sell, work through the contract stuff with their company, but it looks like it should be taking place mid-December. We should be moving.
So you're on the move quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now.
You got time to come sit here, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. And this is a permanent move?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the visa will be for 5 years, and then the type of visa allows us to apply for a green card. So our staying down there won't be directly tied to her employment with that company. So
cool.
Yeah, we're excited.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That's a long, 4 years, it's a long time.
Yeah,
to want something and work towards it. And
yeah, and the path that we wanted to get down there was I'm a day trader, so I'm self-employed. So ideally, I wanted to make enough money where she didn't need to work, and then we could just move down there off my income. Mm-hmm. That was always the goal, and we're not quite there financially yet. So in a roundabout way, we just kept visualizing that goal, and now her job is the one bringing us down there, and I have the freedom to work from a laptop wherever I want. I don't have a boss, and there's no tied to an employment up here. So we're just getting there through a different path kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's exciting.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, should we get into it?
Let's do it.
Brandon, we want to hear your story, and I'll give a quick summary, and then maybe we'll just get into it. So, you are a testicular cancer survivor. You are a survivor of abuse in some form, and you're a day trader, self-made employee, self-made businessman. That's a lot. So I wanna dig into all of that if you're willing.
For sure.
I think one thing I've known, and because I know you, I have a bit of a heads up, but I think I've been around you enough now to see that you really focus a lot on your mental state, controlling your mental state, not only for your cancer recovery, but for your work, for your business. There's so many things that play into that: control of your emotions, control of yourself, empowering yourself to do those things and to overcome those things and do a good job at your work and keep to your rules and all that stuff. So, when did that start for you? What was life like before? Okay. What was life like before you figured that out?
Before I figured that out, it was quite a bit of a mess. So my 20s, I felt like I had zero control over my emotions and the states that I was putting myself in. And if we go right back, like we touched on that abuse thing, very early, I think I was 10 or 11 in grade 5. My best friend at the time, his older brother kind of was grooming and kind of led into sexual abuse of me and my best friend. So it was that older brother situation. And it's always the cancer thing. I know a couple guys that have had cancer. You shared with that story about your friend going through the similar thing. And then we had that child loss, and I know a couple of people that have had child loss. But if you look at the statistics, sexual abuse, I think, is far more prevalent than either cancer or child loss. But I don't know anybody, especially guys that I've met that have also experienced this. So all that tells me is that there are a lot of people that have experienced it, but that's just not something that really anyone shares.
No one's talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that went on for the course of, from what I remember, months. It was a constant thing. They lived across the street from me, so I could throw a baseball from my backyard to his driveway. So it was a very close proximity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's always how it turns out to be. It's always an uncle or a family member or a family friend or something like that.
That's close by,
Yeah. So me and my friend were 10 at the time. He was in almost out of high school, so maybe 17. So he held a position of power over us, the older high school guy always wants to hang out with us. That made us feel cool and and included. And the way it always happens is kind of just grooming and making you feel comfortable, and then they lead into other things. And the way it actually ended was my mom had come we were in my basement of my house, and my mom came down, and I think we were all kind of doing whatever he was leading us into, and she caught it, and then that was a very uncomfortable situation for a 10-year-old to be in, and kicked him out. We were a military family, so I think my parents had a conversation with their parents, and then the RCMP gets involved, and then immediately my parents were sending me off to therapy, and I went just through this vicious cycle of talking to psychotherapists and all this stuff when I was that young.
Well, that's the thing. As a 10-year-old, like, how do you even process what's going on? Even if you go into therapy and you trust these therapists that they know what they're doing, but as a 10-year-old, just to process it,
right. And I remember those conversations, and something that always stuck with me was one of the therapists was saying, if you don't really dig into this, and if you don't have these conversations and work through this is something that's going to drastically affect your adult development as you move forward in life. And I just kept brushing off like, that's not a big deal. I'm fine. It's so whatever. I stopped going to therapy, I don't know, like maybe a year into it, and I never really looked back on it. And then later in my 20s, when my life is kind of going down the shitter and I'm experiencing heavy drug abuse and destructive behaviors and high risk environments that I'm putting myself in, it wasn't much later. It was probably not until I experienced cancer that I really looked back on that stuff and kind of made some connections and tied things in.
Do you think
into each other?
The cancer forced reflection? Like it forced you to look back and reflect on that stuff? And was that what was it about that made you, if you remember, what was it about that made you want to go back and reflect on that? Or did it just happen naturally and it just...
No, honestly, I think the cancer and the child loss, like those happened within, like my wife was pregnant when I got diagnosed with cancer. So we were expecting our first child. So I had my testicle removed October 31st of 2018, so right on Halloween. So it's going to be 5 years actually at the end of this month. So I've been cancer free. When I went to the doctor and she was pregnant, and then the doctor told me, I'm pretty sure you have cancer. We're going to go get you checked out. I remember coming out of the doctor's office and then just sitting in my car in the parking lot, and I just burst into tears because I'm about to have a child. I just found the woman that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and now I'm contemplating, hey, am I even going to be here for a couple of years to see my child? So that was a big point in my life that I had some opportunity to reflect on my decisions previously and battling like drug addiction and stuff. But I think that abuse earlier in life made me feel like I wasn't in control of my own surroundings because that individual previous in my life held all the control and kind of molded us into what he wanted us to be doing and stuff. So I've always felt like I've struggled with self-control and control of my environment and decisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so just to get into it a little bit, the cancer, how did you find that out? What was like maybe some people don't know. Maybe guys don't know what to do. How do you notice it? What led to you checking that?
Yeah. And I think that's just guy nature, right? Like, I'm just not feeling great. I'll just brush it off. I'm not going to the doctor. I'll be fine. Yeah.
That is such, I do it all the time. Like,
100%.
Well, and you think about having to wait in line and you think like, there's so many things. It's just like, fuck this hurts for, maybe I'll wait another couple of weeks, see if it still hurts.
Yeah. The initial concern was my testicles had just swelled up. Like I got kicked in the balls on the playground. Like they were just heavy and sore, and they swelled up for a couple of days. I was like, this is really strange. And then they dissipated and I was fine. I was just like, okay, I guess that was nothing. 2 weeks later, they swelled up again. It's like painful to sit down. They're noticeably swollen. I was like, what is going on here? They dissipate and they go away again. I was like, okay, that was weird. And then 2 weeks again, like clockwork, they swelled up. They dissipated, and then I was just feeling around and I felt a lump on one of my testicles. And at that point I was getting a little concerned, so I went to the walk-in clinic, and the doctor felt it. He's like, without even a doubt, like, we're just going to send you to get tested. I'll send you to a urologist. We need to see a specialist, but I think you've got testicular cancer. So that was when I got that diagnosis. And then within a week I was in to see the urologist, and he felt around. And within those like 4 to 6 week period of when I first noticed the swelling to when I was in the urologist, it went from a little lump to half my testicle felt like the surface of the moon. Like it was all lumpy. It had just eaten the whole thing. Like it wasn't smooth anymore.
Fast.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So when I was in with the urologist, he felt around. He's like, this feels like it's pretty advanced. We're going to get you in for surgery tonight. I'm going on vacation right away. I don't want to leave this for a week or two.
Yeah.
So he's like, go home, pack your bag. You're going to be back here tonight. We're going to get this done immediately. So I had like zero time to process.
You're just in it.
But yeah. So yeah, I went home, chilled out a little bit, smoked a bunch of weed, went back, just kind of relaxed. And, you know, it was pulled out within that first time to when the testicle was removed was like 6 weeks. It was like super fast.
Okay.
And then they send you through all the blood tests and to see, it's very common for it to like metastasize into your lymph nodes, I believe is the next spot. I just got super lucky. All my tests came back. They were clear. And removing the testicle was what cured me. And it's been 5 years since. So I just got really lucky.
Well, congrats on being 5 years.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it.
I mean, it's that I can't even picture or imagine what went through your head when you heard the news first, because we've talked about, like, you know, that area being your manhood, very sensitive topic just to even talk about, right? Yet here you are, you know, getting these news, like that must have been absolutely horrible. And then next thing you know too, you're going in tonight, and anytime, like, I had a couple minor surgeries, and like I was very uneasy about that. And I can't even, like, what were you thinking? What thoughts went through and emotions? Like, what were you thinking those hours and days?
Yeah, as soon as I was in the hospital, I remember I was laying on the bed before we went into surgery, and my girlfriend at the time was there, and I just burst into tears because of that very thing. Like, you're losing a piece of your manhood. I was like, what is going on here? Like, it was just a couple of weeks ago. I was fine. Now I'm going to have a testicle removed, and the surgery was actually, honestly, I thought it was just, you know, let's cut a little hole at the bottom of the sac and drop that little fucker out and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But they have to remove all the tubes and everything that connects to it. So they actually go in through your lower abdomen.
Oh, okay.
So they're cutting through all those abs and your ligaments and stuff, and they pull everything up out the top through. So I've got a little scar there. And the recovery for that was insane, because every time you move, you lift your leg or whatever, you're tightening that lower abdomen. I couldn't walk for like 4 weeks.
Holy shit.
I was literally crawling on my hands and knees to go to the bathroom. I could barely sit up out of bed. So it was like a 5 to 6 week recovery time.
I guess that's kind of like when women get C-section, because the same area gets cut, and I know the recovery is long, and you're in bed for the first 4 or 5 weeks, I believe. Yeah. So
you got a pregnant wife.
Yeah.
You're laid up for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
She probably, how far into the pregnancy was she at that point?
Like, I think 14, 15 weeks,
so
kind of
like
thing.
On her way.
She was still working. Okay. She took about a week to stay at home with me for a little bit, and then she was back and forth to work. I was able to kind of like move around the house a little bit and take care of myself. But that was a difficult process.
So how was that, knowing you had a child on the way, going through this? What was that like for you? Because now you're sitting in bed for 4 weeks, which means you probably only had time to think.
Yep.
And so, like, how was that process for you? Did you spiral out? Did you, like, I would spiral out, or have moments where I did, for sure.
Yeah.
If I was just sitting there with my own thoughts for 5 weeks and literally couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I think I ate my body weight in THC gummies, and I watched every Marvel movie from start to finish, and I played video games. You're just locked in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And then you're by yourself, and you're contemplating your own mortality, and you're waiting for cancer tests to come back to see if I have to deal with more stuff down the road. It was brutal mentally, more than the physically part of recovering out of that.
And did you have someone to talk to? Did you talk to anybody? Were you able to vent some of that or release some of that during that time?
I think most of it was, I was on YouTube looking up other guys' testicular cancer stories and kind of see how they recovered with it, what their process was like moving forward out of that. So I found a lot of comfort in just listening to other guys' stories. And that's why I think this podcast is so great. I think you guys have had a great number of guests on, and there's been some wild stories shared on here, and there's a lot of strength or there's a lot of power in sharing a story that you've been through and just hearing a different perspective on things. So I think it can shift your perspective a lot on whatever you're going through. And that was one of the motivating reasons for me to share my story, because I know a lot of other guys have been dealing with that, and to just hear someone else have gone through it and they're fine gives you a lot of strength and power to move through them.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, Tommy, among all the episodes we've recorded, there's one common theme, and that's getting therapy. We've talked about it lots.
Many times.
You had a really tough time making that first phone call. I had a tough time making that first phone call. I didn't even know if the person I was going to see was the right person, but you got to just try. Thank goodness we have a sponsor that makes it way easier now. BetterHelp has an online platform that allows you to fill out a questionnaire. They connect you with a therapist, and you get to communicate with them however you want. So whether that's text messaging, that's emails, that's through their app, that's video chats, you get all those options, and it makes it way less scary to be connected with someone. And if you're not into the person you talk to, they'll sign you another one right away. I've gotten assigned mine already, and I can't wait to use it. Like, by the time you hear this, I will have had my first session, and I'm super pumped to talk about it on the show.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it, and like it's very easy to sign up. It took us maybe 5 minutes to sign up, and you answer just simple questions, and next thing you know, you got a message that you will be paired up with a therapist, and within the same day we got the therapist already, the name and a message from them, and we were able to communicate with them. So it's extremely easy. So please go to BetterHelp.com. Yeah, that's the thing. BetterHelp.com/Quiet Riot Show, and you get to also enjoy 10% off for your first month if you sign up using this link. So again, right here, I'm going to be doing it from here. Yeah, it's BetterHelp.
Am I screwing it up?
.com/Quiet Riot Show. Yeah, sign up today, and you're not going to regret it, because I'm already enjoying it. Just the fact that we connected with a therapist.
Me too, man.
Thank you to BetterHelp for supporting this podcast.
So you're laid up. You go through your 4 weeks. You made some big changes in your life after that, I think.
Yeah.
Diet. What kind of changes did you? What was that moment like where you're like, okay, I gotta fucking change my shit. Like I gotta change my life.
I think the biggest.
Or did that happen before already because you had a baby on the way?
I think it might have been the catalyst for it. I always had the mindset that I was going to make cancer the best thing that ever happened to me. So you got a second chance at life now. Let's reassess our goals and what we want to do with our life, and what if I'm not here 5 years down the road? What do I actually want to be doing? Do I want to just go to work every day for someone and not chase my goals and not chase my dreams? And at the time I had a really good job, and when I got that job with a solid salary, I was like, I made it. Like, yeah. I'm in a management position. I have people that report to me. I'm very close to upper management. I'm working my way up this chain. And I very much tied my self-worth to the amount of responsibility I could secure in my position at work. Mm-hmm. So the more overtime I could do, the more responsibility and bigger projects I was working on, that gave me a sense of worth. And I think that ties back to like the abuse.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then
someone else in control.
Yeah. So the more control I could secure made me feel more worthy about myself. So I went back to work, and then we were expecting that child, and Jess ended up having some complications with her pregnancy. So we were in and out of the hospital a little bit, and then she has some type of rare condition where the cervix is not strong enough to hold the weight of the pregnancy at a specific point. Okay. So we were back and forth out of the hospital. Then she found out that her cervix was dilating a little bit under the weight of about 18 or 19 week pregnancy. So there's a procedure where they go in for this specific type of, I think it's incompetent cervix is what they called it, where they actually put a big thick stitch in the bottom of the cervix, and that'll hold it shut so the pregnancy can come to term. So we went in, they noticed, they did a ultrasound measurement of the cervix, and it was getting very close to dilating, and obviously we're not at term at 20 weeks. Right. So they went in and did this surgery to put the stitch in, send us home. And at that time, when they did the stitch, it was already dilated a little bit. So they actually have to push the placenta or whatever the pregnancy is back up inside. And there's a risk that once it was exposed, there could be an infection that goes inside, and you lock it in there and you can lose the pregnancy from that. So obviously we're freaking out about this as first-time parents. So she went home with the stitch. Again, she was starting to have some pain and some discomfort. So we go back in, and when we went to go get it checked out at one point, her water broke. So we're in there, and the water breaks. It's like flipping an hourglass. Now the pregnancy's coming. Yeah. I think we were at 20 or 21 weeks. So they told you straight up, like, there's probably zero chance that this pregnancy is going to survive that. So, and this is, I had my testicle removed October 31st. This is end of December. So I'm just back on my feet. I'm just back at work. And now we're in the hospital, water broke, and we literally just sat in the delivery room for 15, 20 hours, bawling our eyes out, knowing that our first child's going to come out and not
survive.
Right.
Yeah.
So the cancer might have been the catalyst for me to make some changes in life, but then seeing my daughter born and die in my wife's arms, that was the trigger that really pushed us to focus on what our goals really want to be in life, and try and figure something out that would bring us fulfillment. Yeah.
So what did you shift after that? What happened?
Everything. Pretty much everything.
Let's break it down. So what was your physical health before and after going through some of this? Ignoring, like, your cancer was a physical health problem, but, like, what was your overall physical health and lifestyle like going through this?
Destructive.
Okay.
Heavy drug use.
Yep.
Multiple addictions to cocaine, MDMA, alcohol, weed, gambling, steroids. I pretty much put my body through the ringer multiple times.
Was this due to you just kind of start hanging out with people and it was available, or was it maybe because of what happened in the past and you just
what happened in the past?
You tried to
100% numbing, self-medication, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then I think because of the abuse was male, all throughout my 20s, I had this desire to be like respect. I wanted respect and power. I think that led into the steroids. I wanted to put on muscle. I wanted to be, I wanted to like a scary presence kind of thing.
Intimidating.
The beard, tattoos, shaved head, all that kind of stuff. And then that led into the drug abuse and then selling drugs. And at one point, thinking back on it, I honestly think I was selling drugs to just to feel wanted. Well, people are always calling me. They always want me to come over because I got the drugs and that kind of thing. Yeah. And at the time, like, I'm driving around in my car with like thousands of dollars of cocaine and weed, and I'm selling this. I was like, what am I doing?
It's this false sense of importance. And,
that kind of thing, right? And it felt included, and using cocaine was the only way that I felt comfortable in my own skin to be out in public and that kind of thing. So I kind of feel like, looking back on it, there's a lot of like shame and guilt about the decisions that I made and the things in my early 20s. So I used, once we lost the child, as kind of like, I've never really like talked about this or said it out verbally, so I'm not sure how it'll sound, but I kind of used that as like, I felt like that was my karmic debt was paid for all the bullshit that I did in my 20s.
Yeah.
So it was a terrible thing to go through, but it allowed me the opportunity to forgive myself for everything that I've done negatively in my life. So cancer was the catalyst, but that was really the pushover that allowed me to kind of start fresh and forgive myself and then kind of move on forward from there.
Okay. I mean, and that's amazing that you actually identify that way, because you could have easily going through something tragic like that. Like, it's so easy to fall back to
100%.
drugs, alcohol, whatever, right? Just
I feel like that could be like a make or break moment.
Oh,
Like-
100%. So it's great that you've recognized that. I guess, well, you had the strength to basically just focus on what's in front of you and not go back to the
Right.
past that you hated, right?
Now, what was your going through all this 3 months of unbelievable turmoil? Like, what was your relationship like with your wife?
It was good. We were very supportive, but I remember that first week we were back from the hospital. It just felt like there was a vicious storm cloud in the house, like just negative, dark energy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're trying to console each other, but I just remember, like, at different points we would catch or you would hear the other person at some point in the house just breaking down bawling.
Yeah.
And you don't even know, like, you want to go console them, but you're messed up yourself too. So it was just like these sporadic moments of crying by ourselves and all over different places of the house. I remember at one point I took every pair of shoes in the house and I scrubbed them with a toothbrush in the kitchen sink just to keep busy. I probably cleaned
Just
shoes for 4 hours.
do something.
Everything was
Yeah.
spotless.
Get your mind off of
But like you said, that make or break kind of thing, that's where I just kind of leaned into personal development. I started listening to self-help podcasts and I started reading books and I started focusing on making sure that I was going to be in the right mindset to move forward in a productive manner.
Yeah.
So I think that's where my focus on personal development kind of started. Kicking the drugs was kind of like an easy one, the harder drugs anyways, because I had responsibilities at home. So I kind of veered off from that friend group. Marijuana was still very prevalent. Like, I think I smoked every day of my life for like 15 years, give or take like a week here. Maybe I traveled somewhere where I couldn't get it, but like every day I would wake up and I would smoke a little one hitter, and all day I'm just smoking weed. All night I'm smoking weed. I recently just started quitting that. So it's been a couple months since I've smoked.
Okay.
And then a couple months prior to that, I've been really focusing on it. And it wasn't so much that the marijuana, like, I don't smoke high THC. It was mostly CBD. And I always leaned into it as like, just like a regulator kind of thing to like mellow me out. And while the weed didn't really affect my ability to complete my daily responsibilities, it was something that I didn't want in my life anymore. So it was significantly affecting my own perception of my ability to control my emotions and that kind of thing. So that was the detriment that I was experiencing with the marijuana addiction.
Yeah. And now do you see, so marijuana addiction, cleaning shoes for 4 hours, whatever those things are, like, how much of that is helpful coping to get through certain levels of trauma and is okay for a term, or how much of that is just destructive from the start? So I'll use an example in myself. So I told my story, my whatever story, on the first episode or second, whatever it was, and like I leaned heavy into alcohol to push me through the darkest periods of what that felt like for me in going through what I went through. And so I viewed that to me as like, and I was seeing a therapist at the time, and like I told him, like, hey, I'm drinking all the time, like I'm drunk, like I just want to be drunk all the time till I can do something enough to like make it hurt not so much that I don't have to do that. And he said, okay, well, thank you, I'm glad you're telling me. If this increases as we continue down this path, then like we have to talk about that. If it doesn't, and this is what you need right now to do what you do, I can't say it's a good idea, but it is what it is.
It works. And
so coping mechanisms and what to do with that, and like in those moments you don't feel like you have any control or any power, and it just fucking hurts. And so like the marijuana and the shoe cleaning and the distractions and all that stuff, how do you equate that to a healthy way to cope and an unhealthy way to cope?
I think it's a balancing act. It can be beneficial at the time to reduce anxiety and get your mind off whatever you're trying to deal with. But for myself particularly, I noticed that I can fall into it too much, where it becomes like a hindrance on everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So when I was quitting cocaine, I would drink more. And then when I was quitting weed recently, I found I was drinking much more. Now I'm going through a bottle of whiskey every week, that kind of thing.
Doing the same thing with the
Yeah.
different substance.
So then I would cut out the drinking, and then I was binge eating more. And so it was just, I'm constantly just replacing one thing with the other. And then when I, recently I cut out once I got rid of the alcohol and I was still working on the marijuana, I found myself walking all the time. I would go to Sinboyne Forest and I'd go for like 2 or 3 hour long walks. And then I'm doing that 3 or 4 times a week. So now the walking is impeding my productivity at work. And so I'm just constantly like,
I mean, it's better. It's a lesser of evils, I guess. But at that point, it's still, I guess it's still an evil if it isn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a balancing act, can be beneficial, but you need to be conscious of, are you just doing this as an escape, or is it actually helping you at that point? Right.
Yeah. So when did you, so you've quit hard drugs, you're coming out of the pain of your losing a child. You have 2 children right now.
Yep.
So that happened.
They're going to be
that's amazing.
4 and 2 right away in January and February.
Lovely,
Yeah,
lovely children, by the way. What was that experience like? Like, what was the timeline like? That you obviously not too long after would have kept trying to have a family, and so what was that sort of gap period between, okay, we have to move past this, and this is, I mean, it takes 2 to do that, and so what was that like for you and your wife to go through that and go like, okay, well, we got to keep trying, we want to do this, knowing the risk, knowing that there is risk?
Yeah. Well, now that we were aware of her situation, there was a better plan in place for the next pregnancy. It did happen pretty quick. I think it was like 7 or 8 months right after the fact. Okay. And that was kind of nice confirmation. Hey, I've only got 1 ball. Things are still working. Everything's fine.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. That's a
for
nice little nugget there.
Yeah,
So
was part of you worried about it? That now that you're
most of it, I was worried about the testosterone thing. I'm a man. I need 2 of these. Am I going to have enough testosterone from one? Apparently, it compensates and everything is fine. And I've had my test levels checked, and that's okay. But I feel like all my guy sperm was in the testicle that got removed, though, because I just keep having girls. So I don't know if we really want to try for another one, because I can't deal with 1 more female in the house. But
people do that though. They want the boy. My brother had 2 girls, and he wanted a boy.
Right.
And they did it, and they got one on the 3rd.
Yeah.
So thankfully, because I think they probably would have just kept
My
going.
buddy in Slovakia had 3 girls. They're like, let's try for another one, 4 girls.
See, I don't want to go down that road. Like, even the dog is a girl. I'm just completely outnumbered in my house right now.
That's why I got a male dog. Everything else in my house is female. So you had 2 kids, and those pregnancies went fine, and that's awesome. Great. And now, when did you make? So you've made life changes now. You're getting healthier. You have 2 kids. You have 1 on the way, or whatever. Like, through that couple of years of time, what other big adjustments did you make during that time?
I think the biggest one was just the realization that we're not here forever. What do I and my wife want out of life? What's our picture perfect life? Let's paint that as a picture, and then work out the steps to get closer to that. We don't know how we're going to get there, but let's do like a day by day, a month by month kind of plan, and just keep working towards it, and eventually we'll find a roundabout way to get there. So the biggest one was like, I'm 37 right now. What's average retirement? 65, probably 70 now with inflation and how things are going. So like, that's still 30 years of work. Like, what do I actually want to do with my life? I don't want to just go to work every day. And like, the previous job that I had was a great salary. I felt like I had really made it in the construction industry, but I was miserable. Like, I would just sit in my car when I got to work every morning, and I would just, fuck.
Oh, I know that. I know that feeling. Yeah.
Right. So like, there's no sense of like fulfillment in doing something like that. So that was where I broke off with the day trading thing. I started after we lost our daughter. I started looking into investing. I started reading some books, and then I opened up a brokerage account, and I started doing some investing myself. having no idea what I'm doing, but I would just put money into the market if I thought the chart looked good. And then maybe in a couple of weeks it goes up $500, and then I close a position. I was like, I just made $500 like clicking a mouse.
Yeah.
I made money with money. I didn't have to do anything. And I was like, this is pretty cool. So I started doing that. At the time, it was the cannabis craze with the stock market.
Yep.
So it was easy to catch a good move on some of those stocks. And I made some decent money, and then I lost some decent money.
Decent money, yeah.
And then that led me into, I came across a page on Instagram, and he was a day trader from London, and he was teaching his system. And I was like, if I can make $500 in a couple of weeks, like swing trading this, I'm watching these guys make $500 in a day. And I was like, okay, so they're just shortening the time frame. So let me try and figure out what he's doing. So I ended up hiring him as a mentor, and I started to learn his process. And once I started to actually make money by investing, that was like really the shift in my mindset that I don't need to do 60 hours a week to make a paycheck.
Yeah.
It's possible. And then you start surrounding yourself with people that are doing the things that you want to do, and you see the reality of their life. So it might take me 40 hours a week to make a $1,500 paycheck or whatever. How is he doing $1,500 in a day, working an hour a day? Like what does he know that I don't? So obviously, as soon as someone says day trading, oh, that's risky. You're going to lose all your money.
Yeah.
And it is risky because there needs to be a lot of discipline involved in it. But it was that realization that there's two ways to look at it. When someone says, I'm going to start day trading, they're like, oh, it's a 90% fail rate. Like 90% of people lose money.
Yeah, but 10% make money.
My mind was exactly that. Okay, 10% make, okay, this is possible. Yep. So what does that 10% know over the 90%? And that's what really launched me. And I'm coming up on my 4th year now.
Yep.
I'm still not in the position where I would consider myself like, I'm not making multiple 6 figures, that kind of thing,
Yep.
but I make enough consistently to cover my bills and that kind of thing. I wanted to shorten the amount of time I had to dedicate to generating income and live my life. Like I work 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning, and then I do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
I can go for my long walks. I can come do a
beautiful.
I know. Follow Brandon. We'll put his Instagram link on there because he's constantly posting about freedom and really you made a shift and I don't care. Like, so me as a business owner, I don't really care about money. It's just a necessary. It's two things. It's a necessary thing that we need to have to get some of the things we want. Mm-hmm. And 2, it's the measure of success in business. And so
For sure.
I'm a businessman, and so success in business is generally measured in dollars to some extent, proportional to what you're taking on.
Right.
But I don't want to do good in business to have lots of money. I want to do good in business to have freedom and have success and feel and get wins. Like that's what I chase.
Yep.
I like wins and I like success and I like freedom. And so that's such a thing you embrace, is like that freedom aspect of doing what you do, day trading. It's freedom. You do whatever the fuck you want. Like you work 2 hours a day. Now, that's not to discount the amount of effort and time it takes to get good at something. So
I work 2 hours a day.
You're not going to get into it working 2 hours a day from day one and expect to have success in that.
I ate shit for 4 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
So if I make $1,000 an hour now, spread that out over the thousands of hours that I've done it, I'm making pennies on the dollar. You know what I mean?
You're
like,
still making small wage, but
right.
But you've worked hard and you've got your freedom. That's what you were chasing. Is like, what do you want your life to look like? So I think about that all the time. I don't think about like, how much money do I want to make? Now I do. We can have a bit of a money conversation. We've never had one. I do have like a number that I'm like, if I have this, this is what I need to stop doing all of this, or to choose to do whatever I want whenever I feel like doing it. This is what I need, and I work everything backwards off that number. And somebody taught me that, and I don't even remember who, but somebody had asked me one time. They said, we were talking about work and business and entrepreneurship, and they said, well, what's your number? What do you mean, what's my number? Well, what do you need today to not do anything if you don't want to do it?
Right.
And I work everything backwards off of that. And that's how I make decisions in business. Some They don't all win, trust me.
Yeah.
I've had an interesting year with that, but that's how I make my decisions. That's how I guide my path. That's what I want for my family. And that number changes. It shifts and adjusts as your family shifts and adjusts, or your wants and needs shift and adjust.
100%.
I'm not trying to drive a Ferrari. I'm trying to play golf one more morning a week, 2 more mornings a week.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want. And so you talked lots about, like, here's the path me and my family want to take, and like work everything backwards off of that.
Yep.
And so I think it's actually almost the same as what we're talking about, because finances would be a part of that, I would assume.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Tommy?
Well,
Like,
I was just gonna say, like, you know, you're at that point where you work 2 hours, and I'm sure after the 2 hours you still work, because whether you pay attention to the news or politics, whatever's going on in the world that affects day trading, you're still paying attention to it. So you are technically working, even if you're not sitting in front of the computer.
Yep.
But like for me, you know, I still have my day job, and I'm trying to build my business.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come home. I'm there for 8 hours, and I feel like I'm wasting my time there. And then come home, I try to now spread the time that I have left to sleep a little bit, and then, right?
Yeah.
And then spend time with my family, take my kids to the activities, and hang out with my wife, and build my own business, so I can leave my day job and then just focus on that and get to the point where without me putting in all this grind right now, I'm never going to get there, right?
Well, and I think without earning it, you don't ever appreciate it.
No, right. and so I just I fully support anybody that is happy doing the 9 to 5. You know, great. If that's your, like you said, that's your number where, like, I'm okay making X amount of dollars because that gets me the house, the cars, the once a year trip. Great. If you want flexibility during the day, you know, where you can either take your kid to wherever she or he needs to go, or you want to go golfing with your buddy, or you just want to really watch a movie during the day without kids at home, right?
I've done that a couple times. Yeah, for
but
sure.
that's the thing. Like, and to me, it's very important to have that self, like, kind of take care of myself a little bit, because otherwise I'm gonna go nuts. Like, you need to do something for yourself as a person, whether you're a man or a woman. Yeah, doesn't matter.
They're back. The pizza oven is back. They have new ownership. They have new menu items, as well as all the old classics. You tried one of the new ones, or a couple of them.
I tried the chicken tandoori pizza, and it was absolutely fantastic.
You brought it to my house, and I smelled it, and it smelled unreal.
Yeah, you were on your keto.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, so it was fantastic. It was so good.
Awesome. So they've got a bunch of new menu items, and they've been generous enough to sponsor our show on an ongoing basis again. And so thank you, Pizza Oven. For those of you not in Winnipeg, you don't get to enjoy it. Too bad. They're located at 1215 Henderson Highway, Unit D in Winnipeg. You can give them a call, 204-949-3000. Also, we have a promo code that you can use if you order online through their website, and that is QRS15, QRS15, and you'll get 15% off your Pizza Oven orders. So everybody's still loving the Pizza Oven.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, get your pies. And I know they have lots of game day specials as well for the Bombers, the NFL, and the Jets as well. So make sure you guys check them out.
So, Brandon, what do you do to take care of yourself daily, weekly, monthly?
Exercise is a huge one. That's like a massive emotional regulation tool that I use. So, yeah, exercise.
Are you at that point where, like, it's fun for you?
I love it. I love it.
That's my goal.
Look at him. What do you think?
Well, I mean, he's in great shape, yes.
I love it because sometimes I don't love the work, but I always feel better after.
Yes.
So even like today, I didn't have much time, but I did half an hour of skipping, burpees, push-ups, squats, like just a bunch of shit that I didn't want to do. And then I felt in a good mood to come over here and have this conversation. So it's like a good regulation tool for me. And then, honestly, I love my job so much. So I only work the 2 hours. Market opens at 8:30 here, and Manitoba Central Time, and I'll work the first 2 hours. If I don't find anything in the first 2 hours, I generally just walk away.
Yeah.
But that's still, I have 90 minutes every morning of pre-market analysis, so I'm going in looking for opportunities. So I'm only working 2, but I do an hour and a half in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'm reviewing all the market, I'm reviewing the news, I'm doing trade reviews, I'm logging all my stuff. So I work 2 hours, but there's really an hour and a half in the morning and probably 2 hours in the evening that I'm also doing work.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like work though. It's honestly it's like a video game.
We give it a name, we define it as work, but like that term itself has so many different it can cover so many things. Like it's funny. It's like work doesn't have to mean going to an office, going to a plant and doing your hours and getting out. Like that's one form of work. Right. But work is a lot of things. Work for me, I don't sit at a desk 8 hours a day and do stuff, but I'm constantly on and I'm constantly thinking about it, working on stuff, picking away at things. Like throughout a day, do I do 8 hours of dead straight work? Not normally. No. I prefer not to. Yeah. But do I like do an hour here and then 2 hours there and then meet someone who's important for me to meet here? Like I've had so many years of entrepreneur life that like work for me is just work and life are kind of very, very, very intermingled.
Last Friday, actually, I just woke up and I had a really shitty day, as in like I was exhausted, didn't sleep well, was exhausted and woke up grumpy. I told her wife was at home because she's a teacher, so she had like a in-service day where they were doing a PD from home. So I woke up and like she's on the computer, the kids were doing whatever. I'm like, you know what, I'm going back to bed. So I slept for another 2 hours, got up and I wasn't 100%, so I'm like, nah, I'm not ready yet. And then by 5 p.m., I was like, okay, now I'm ready to tackle some work. Yeah. And I worked till like, I don't know, I think it was like 10 or 11. But like from 5 to 10, I had so much fun doing that. Then as if I had forced myself to do it right off the bat when I woke up and like now in your case, the market opens up, but like you can technically do your research whenever you feel like. If you wake up and you have you're feeling shitty, then you can just kind of push that. And I love that flexibility because I'm not okay right now, so my productivity will be shit too.
And that's something I'm very aware of. If I wake up or if the kids have me up all night and I'm not mentally in it, I'll just take a day off. Yeah. Like it doesn't. I don't need to trade every day. Yeah. And like you said,
you haven't always done that.
No, but those costly mistakes
have taught you important lessons
for sure.
Yeah, but like this, I don't have that option with my day job because then they'll give me a tardy, and I'm like, I just feel like shit today. Like I could come in later and finish my work, but just unfortunately it doesn't work like that.
But you're striving for something different.
That's right.
And I think everybody should do that, no matter if you work a job in a factory. Not everyone's meant to work for themselves or be a day trader. Like it's not for everybody. But I think the lesson is find something that actually gives you fulfillment and gives you fulfillment and gives you the lifestyle and the rewards that you want.
Well, and there's that saying, right? Like if you find something that you love, you'll never work a day
that's
in your
not
life.
true. That's a bullshit statement, I think.
But I mean, you enjoy what you're doing.
Most of the time.
You're an entrepreneur, and it's not necessarily what kind of business, but it's the business aspect. You love doing that.
Yes, that's true.
So I don't hear you complain like, oh, I have another fucking meeting. No, you're actually excited about that meeting.
Yeah.
Same with you, right? And that's the part. Like I used to complain about, fuck, I got to go to work again. Or I'm at work and my manager asks me, can you go do this? I'm like, fuck, that's my job, but I don't want to.
If you say that too often, you need to make change.
Absolutely.
Like it'll kill you.
And so to me, that from that saying, that's what it is actually you really will enjoy doing your work if you find something.
Yeah. But to get to that level of freedom, you need to double stack your daytime 100%. And do all your stuff outside of that time to be able to not be reliant on that income that you have. So it is years to get to that process.
100%. Yeah.
And like you said in the beginning when I started, it was all about money. Oh, I can make X amount of dollars or whatever. Now it's like similar to what you said previously. What's your number? I have a number of what I need monthly. I break that down to what I need weekly. And then that allows me to figure out, okay, how much do I actually need to pull out of the market every day to hit that target? Yeah. But now it's all about freedom.
Yeah.
So I think I've taken like 8 weeks vacation this year. If I don't want to work, I don't want to work.
Yeah.
And the last 4 vacations we went on, I brought my laptop and we came home with more money than I went on. So like I can just
Yeah,
work
there you
from
go.
anywhere with a laptop
Yeah.
and a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
And if I don't want to work, I don't work, because if an employee goes to work and has a bad day, you get paid at the end of 2 weeks. If I go to work and have a bad day, I might wipe my paycheck out for the entire month.
And you've done
By
that.
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots.
No. But I think it's important that we say that. Like,
Last,
this is not exempt from failure. This,
No,
podcast. We try and not just be the highlight reel of life. Like, this is, it's easy to build a highlight reel, but
yeah.
but the failure is the failure can. Well, to me, failure is a driver.
Yep.
Yeah.
And-
you learn from it,
But
and you
it
improve.
does
Hopefully
one or
you
the
improve.
other.
If you learn from it,
Yeah.
you'll improve.
If
yeah.
you choose to learn from it.
So even
go ahead.
September, I started. It was a great month, and then the third week, I made one mistake, and I wiped the whole paycheck out.
Yeah.
It was gone in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So like, however many days I was working, no paycheck.
Yeah.
Just
And now was that I might know already, but I'm going to ask. Was that a strength and discipline mistake error?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so like.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because
Sure.
you've talked to me about it a bunch, and I find it fascinating. But also, I have a follow-up question for that. So talk about your strength and discipline and how the 10% of day traders, as you perceive it, find that to work their way into that 10%. Maybe is the right way to put it.
It's 100% discipline. So we identify key areas on the daily chart that we're looking for the market to make a reaction. And then we're not predicting which way the price is going to go. We want to wait and be patient and see which way it goes, because us as day traders, the little guy, we're not moving the markets. The big banks and the hedge funds, they're moving the markets.
Yeah.
So we want to see where they're moving it, and then we just want to catch a little piece once they decide where the price is going to go.
Just crumbs.
Yeah. So, and nobody has a 100% win rate. So typically my trades are somewhere in the 60 to 65% win rate. So that means 40% of the time I'm taking losses.
Yep.
But you're managing your risk to the point where if I take a trade, there needs to be at least 2x a possibility of return on how much I'm risking on this trade. So if I'm going to risk $100, there better at least be a $200 spot on the chart that price can go.
Yeah.
So then at least with a 60% win rate, if my losses are half the size of my winners, you end up with profit at the end of the month. So the September, the mistakes where I lose a lot of money, those trades don't fit your trade plan, and you're making emotional decisions because you didn't sleep well enough, and you look back at those reviews, and those are trades that you should have never taken in the first place. So when you make a little error in judgment, or you get your ego involved, that's where the 90% end up failing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much emotion.
100%.
Well,
Yeah.
we're men. We don't have emotions, right? This should be easy for
Right.
us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How so taking this on as your own your career or your whatever you want to call it, obviously takes support from your family, takes support from your wife. It takes
I'd be done a long time ago if my wife wasn't in my corner with this, I promise you.
how does
What does your wife do, by the way?
She is a sales manager for like a marble countertop and
Okay.
exterior stone type company.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So having the support of your wife to go through this, is there moments in that, because I've had those moments in the last couple of years. I've taken on some new businesses and some new entrepreneurial ventures. And if you've ever been an entrepreneur, started a business, like that shit's a long game for the most part.
Yeah.
And so unless you get really lucky or fortunate actually is a better word, but it takes time.
Yeah.
You invest, and then it takes time to get money out of your investment. Not much different than anything else.
Yeah.
You do yours in 30-second increments, but mine's over a period of years.
Right.
So being a father and a husband, I feel, maybe it's how I grew up, but I feel a pull to be a provider. I feel like that is my responsibility to be a provider for my family. Financially, it's probably how I grew up, because my dad owned a business from the time I was born, and he was the provider, and my mom was the provider of all the other things, and the financial contribution to our family. Like my dad was responsible. That was his weight.
Yeah.
And I feel that too in my life. Rachel does really well, and thank fuck she does. I'd probably be fucked without her. And so, I'm so grateful for that. But I always feel a little bit like, fuck, like anytime, can you pay for this thing? Blah, blah, blah is going on with me. Yeah. And she's willing and happy and always like, yeah, I can cover this. Like, we talk about finances a lot, which is, again, something really good, important to do as a couple. Like, don't fucking hide your finances.
Right.
But I feel sometimes like I failed as a man and provider when I have struggles with my business, or when it's a bad few months, or it's a bad investment or whatever that is. Did you go through any of that? Do you guys go through that?
Yeah, we still deal with it. It's I talk about it with my wife a lot. If there's a month where I eat shit or a month where I lose money, it's like it's emasculating, in fact, like as a man and as a provider and as a father, and I didn't bring any money in this month, or I lost a little bit of money. That's difficult for me to accept that she's providing everything the family needs. But like the vision being set on that long goal is the opportunity that we're working towards with my job as a trader can provide exponential returns down the road. So like, it's very easy for me to do 1% a day right now. So if I do 1% of a $20,000 account, I can pull $200 out of the market like nothing. Yeah. Eventually, when that account's $200,000, I'm making 1% of $200,000. Now it's very easy for me to pull $1,000 or $2,000 out of the market. So the exponential return is
the opportunity is
100%. Yeah. So as you said, what's your number? I know guys that trade $1 million accounts. They're pulling 10, 20K a day. Yeah. That's insane amount of money.
I don't even need that much money.
Right? And those are small trades. Some good trades, if you catch a trend, you can do 4 or 5%. Yeah. So 4 or 5% of a $100,000 account, you're laughing. Yeah. And then you don't need to trade every day. I know I can make the bulk of my return for my monthly paycheck in 3 or 4 trades. So if there's no good setups in the market, it's having the discipline to sit out and stay cash. And if the risk to reward is not there, I don't need to take a trade. Yeah. And I just need to wait for those high probability setups and then put the risk on, accept it if it's not going to work, or take my money and get out. And if you get a big win, shut it down and stop testing fate and testing luck. And if you hit your target for the day, just lock it up and walk away and be happy and go about your day.
Yeah. So it really comes down to discipline.
100%. So that's why I focus so much on personal development and exercise and staying very structured with my routine, because that all plays a role in your ability to execute trades as you're working in that 2 hour
so
period.
You mentioned that you've listened to some motivational podcasts and stuff. Do you want to throw some names out there for some of the listeners? Maybe they want to get into that a little bit. And
yeah, just all the guys that are straight shooters. I actually find the majority of the ones that I focus on now, initially I hated them because they're straight shooters and they're telling you,
they're calling you out for your
exactly.
shit.
So you're
no
like,
man likes to be called out for his
fuck
shit.
This guy, I don't like what he's talking about. But
this guy's just an asshole.
Yeah, so like Rob Bailey, Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, all those guys, the Muscle, Keaton Hoskins, all those guys that are successful in entrepreneurship, but are very focused and disciplined with how they attack specific problems, that kind of thing, you know?
Now, did you jump on with those guys right off the bat when you went through the tragic moment and like with your cancer, or was there something else where you kind of started listening to start looking at things positively?
No, I think it was the week after we lost our daughter. That's when I forced myself to just put some positivity in my ears. And even if you're not paying attention because your head's in the clouds at the moment, subconsciously your brain is still taking it in, and that's going to slowly shift you into a positive mindset where you can start focusing on what you need to do to get in a better spot. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, man. I'm as a man to a man, I'm very proud of what you've done with your life.
Appreciate that.
Coming from where you have and the struggles
just
you've
what
had.
You went through is absolutely insane, and I'm glad that you've you're past that now, and you got 2 beautiful kids. You're healthy. And
moving to Florida.
Yeah, and we're weeks away from achieving a goal that we've been working on for 4 or 5 years. You know, we're going to be in Florida right away, and the kids can't wait to be picking up shells off the beach and doing whatever we want to do.
Sounds awesome.
Is there something you would want to tell our listeners, like any advice, suggestion, quote, whatever? that maybe going through what you went through?
Yeah, I would say just think big picture and kind of paint that scenario of what your ideal life would be like, and whether or not you have any idea of how to get there. Don't settle for less. Whatever you're doing, if you got to work a full-time job and grind for 4 or 5 years to get yourself in a better position, then you got to put in that extra work in the time being to get there, and that's the sacrifice and the trade-off you need to make. But I'm done having another man tell me what my time is worth and tell me I need to be here from this time to this time and pull me away from my kids. And if my kids are homesick, I take them to the park, we go for ice cream, we do whatever we want, and that's the freedom that I want to be able to have with my family. And then also, I have a hard time accepting the fact that parents will tell their kids, you can be anything you want to be, you can do anything you want to do, but they're stuck in a job that they don't want to do. Yeah. So eventually they're going to ask you, if I could be anything I could dream of, why didn't you do what you wanted to do, Dad?
Do as I say, not as I do.
Right. So I'm trying to set that example and have them just lead by example so they can follow their own dreams.
We do a lot of that with our daughter as well.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, same
And
thing. I tell my kids, you can be whatever you want, but you got to work your ass off.
Right.
You can't just wait for it to happen to you. So
it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Or very rarely does it.
Yeah.
Want to grab the box?
Oh, yeah.
We have a little something,
Gift for you?
a little gift for you.
Perfect.
It's one of these mugs.
Awesome.
As a thank
You don't
you
have to open
for
it or anything, but it looks like this.
Yeah, as a thank you for coming sharing your story with us.
I appreciate
it. I loved hearing that you're doing great again. Like, just fantastic. So nice.
We're gonna put Brandon's
Yeah,
Instagram.
Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, Brandon Von Flood. And then I started a coaching business for day trading. So we have a couple students in there now. So
Nice.
we have a team of traders that I work with, and then we have a couple students in. So it's a nice community. It's a lonely job. So we're in the chat room every morning going over trade plans, and we're all working together to try and squeeze a little bit of money out of the market without having to work too hard.
Awesome. We'll tag it all in
Sure.
bot script.
Great.
And,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing, man. And we'd love to do a check-in appointment with you in a few months or 6 months when
Might
you're
be from video on the beach.
Yeah,
but
we can zoom in,
that's
no
what we'll do,
problem,
and then we can sit here and hate you for it. But
Awesome.
no, that's awesome, man. And I wish you guys the best. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing. We really do appreciate it.
Awesome.
And for our listeners, just follow our Instagram page, Quiet Riot Show. On Instagram.
I don't know. You do this shit. This isn't
I don't
my
know.
shit.
I keep forgetting, but
It's a
I
Tommy
think
job.
it's the Quiet Riot Show on Instagram, and our email is quietriotShow@gmail.com. Please email us if you'd like to share a story with us or just have a question for us. On YouTube, you can also leave comments as well. So, thanks for listening, and see you next time.
See you guys.
All Quiet Riot Show episodes have been recorded and produced by Suver Media. If you think you have an idea for a podcast but don't have the space or proper equipment, please visit suvermedia.com for more information. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please hit the follow button and leave us a review if the platform you are listening on allows you to do so. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Quiet Riot Show, and follow us on the Instagram page @QuietRiotShow. Please share this episode with others that may be interested in these topics. If you know anyone that would enjoy these topics, feel free to share our podcast with them. Also, let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch with us in the comments on our channel and social media, or send us an email to quietriotshow@gmail.com.